1800 keyboard. No, I'm not talking about a keyboard made in the year 1800. You've probably heard of full-size keyboards, and maybe even ultra-compact layouts like 60%. But what exactly is an 1800 layout? To understand that, we need to go back to 1984, the year Cherry introduced the first ever 1800 layout keyboard, the G80 1800. This was a clever redesign that brought the numpad closer to the main typing area while relocating the navigation cluster right above it. The result? A smaller footprint that retained all the essential keys. The G80 1800 became a staple in workplaces, especially for those who relied heavily on data entry. But ironically, it was never really marketed to everyday consumers. Fast forward to today, and the definition of an 1800 layout has evolved. Some designers remove the function row, while others shrink the navigation cluster. But one thing remains the same: as long as the numpad is compactly integrated, it qualifies as an 1800 keyboard. For a lot of people, their first mechanical keyboard is a full-sized one, or at least something close to it, and that's where today's star comes in, the Yunzi IF99. It's a modern take on the 1800 layout, but swapped out media keys for some cool tricks which we will get to later. Full-sized or 1800 layouts aren't super common, even in the custom keyboard world. I've seen a few, like the QK101, but that one felt a bit too quirky for me. The Seal 100? It's got this weird single key just sitting off in the corner, so WinX98 does a compact full-size thing, but it's way too cramped. And the KBD fans Odin? The design didn't really grab my attention. If you're looking at budget pre-builds, there's the Aula F99 for $90, or Yunzi's own YZ98, also $90. Both pretty solid deals compared to the IF99's $100 price tag. So, what's the deal with this IF99? What makes it stand out from the crowd? Let's jump in and figure it out. The IF99 shows up in a pretty standard Yunzi branded box. Crack it open and you've got a manual, a quick start guide, both in a bunch of languages. Then there's the accessories, the USB-C cable, a switch and keycap puller, some extra keycaps, and switches in case you need replacements later on. You can get it in white or black. I chose to go with black. The case colour is just the beginning though. The front badge and the back plate designs are different as well. Black has got this starry sky look, while white goes for a snow theme. Keycaps match that vibe too. The black one's got darker tones like grey, black, white, while the white one is lighter with cool blues and greys tossed in. Both sets are double shot PBT, so the legends are crisp and perfectly scented. For switches, you choose between Coca Cream or Gateron Zero. They are both 5-pin, MX-style linear switches, already lubed up from the factory with different actuation forces and key travel lengths. Now, connectivity, this thing's got plenty. It's tri-mode, so meaning you can go wired with USB-C, hook up Bluetooth 5.0 to 3 devices, or use 2.4 GHz with a dedicated dongle. No polling rate specs anywhere, so I'm guessing it's around 1 kHz. There's a switch on the back to flip between modes, and that 2.4 GHz dongle is tucked away under the front badge, which is pretty smart. Battery life is not going to be an issue with 8000 mAh. Even if you're running RGB full blast with heavy use, I'd say it can last a month and more. Turn the RGB off and with light use, you're looking at 6 months easy. I've been using it for about 2 weeks, about 3 to 4 hours a day, and I haven't had to charge it once. Speaking of RGB, it's south-facing, so you don't have to worry about keycap interference with certain keycap profiles. You can swap lighting scenes easily with function shortcuts, and inside, this keyboard is packed with foams, plate, PCB, case. Every space imaginable is foamed up. That's pretty typical for plastic pre-builds to kill off any hollowness and to give you a full sound. Typing sound is loud, poppy, but leans toward the deeper side. The plate is also either PP or PC. I can't really tell for sure just by looking. The stabilizers are tuned really well and looped up heavy, like what you expect from pre-builds these days. No ticking, no wobble, and the wires are leveled nice and even. The PCB assembly is cascade mounted as well, and is hot swappable, works with both 3 and 5-pin MX switches. The whole thing weighs 1238.5 grams, and the front height is at 20mm, so you might want a wrist rest for long typing sessions. But what really sets the IF99 apart? 2 big things. Number 1, the OLED display can show connectivity stats, upload your own image, or even throw in an animated GIF. And secondly, it's got VIA or QMK compatibility. So no need for some half-baked proprietary program. You get full control. So now that we are done with introductions, let's get to the good stuff. Looking at pictures, the IF99's size might feel a little bit intimidating. But trust me, it's not. It's really close to a TKL in terms of size, And that 1800 layout is where it really shines. If you got a packed gaming setup where desk real estate is a problem, this thing fits in without making you give up too much functionality. Plus, with VIA and QMK, you can turn the numpad into a macro pad with no extra devices needed. Typing on it feels awesome. The Koka Cream switches are super responsive, likely because of the shorter travel, and they are just as light as the Gateron Zeros. Honestly, you can't go wrong with either switch. Even though the keyboard is made from injection molded plastic, it doesn't sound hollow at all, which is a problem you see with most plastic keyboards. And that's all thanks to the foams stuffed in there. At this price, I'm genuinely surprised it sounds this good. There's a downside to that though, so hang on, I'll get to that in a second. I quite like the design of the keyboard. It's not overly tacky. Stars and snow might not be everyone's thing, but it's way better than those loud, quirky designs that only a tiny group of people will go for. Bring it to the office and you'll probably hear your co-workers commenting on how cute your keyboard is. Connectivity has been perfect for me. The 2.4 GHz dongle works like a charm, and switching between my iPad and desktop through Bluetooth gave me no issues at all. The 8000 mAh power battery is just a game changer. You barely have to plug it in and it just keeps going. It's the confidence that you will last a long time without needing a charge and break my momentum at work that gets me excited. I for one am usually into keyboards with badges for that personal flair, and I'm all for it. But the only thing is, I think this implementation could be done a bit better. More on that later. It can't be all good with the IF99. Here's a couple of bad ones. Pick this thing up and immediately notice something. The plastic doesn't have much heft, low density stuff. It's not brittle or anything, but it just kind of feels cheap in the hands. That starry design on the backplate, it's printed on. Looks like gold colored plastic too, meant to imitate expensive brass metal. And I feel like I could scratch it up with my fingernails if I tried really hard enough. Taking the keyboard apart is a pain. Some keyboards need a whole toolbox to pry open, and this is one of them. Yunzi definitely does not want you looking inside. I made some marks on the outside trying to do so if you want to get in, to maybe get some foams out or put some more in, my advice, don't. All that foam eliminates hollowness, no doubt. But here's the catch. It's gasket mounted, sure, but because there's so much foam crammed in there, it doesn't have any give. Typing feels stiff all the way across the keyboard. It doesn't bug me too much. I'm fine with perfectly stiff typing experience, but if you're after something bouncy and light, this keyboard might not be your vibe. So the OLED's cool, you can customize it a ton, but I haven't found much use for it beyond looking pretty. I was hoping it could maybe tie into notifications, like flashing a GIF when I get an email, so I'll just notice it on my keyboard. I say I like the badge, and I really do, but I think they could have done more with this space. It hides the dongle in this cavity, which is perfectly fine, but why not leave that space open and usable? Stick a couple of switches in there, maybe on a knob. They could have stashed the dongle somewhere else. There's plenty of room up front or in the back. It feels that they've picked flair over function. The switch choices bug me a little too. Koka Cream and Gateron Zeros are both linear and way too similar. Almost the same weight and that 0.3mm difference in travel, I barely felt it. If you're into tactile or clicky switches, you're out of luck. The Yunzi IF99 is a great choice if you're jumping into mechanical keyboards for the first time. It's more compact than a full-size board, but it doesn't ditch too much of what you want. Looks-wise, it's got a likable style. Stars and snow might turn off some folks who think it's too cutesy, but it's got more personality than something like the Aula F99 or Keychron V5 Max, which are all business and no fun. That QMK and VIA compatibility is also a huge plus. You don't have to mess with some sketchy program, you just get full control. Typing is a blast, loud, poppy, and the wireless setup with that giant battery makes it a workhorse. I've used it for days and weeks, and it doesn't quit. And $100 is not exactly flying off shelves when you've got cheaper options like the F99 from Aula or YZ98 at $90. But to me, the mix of features makes it stand out. It's unique and definitely worth the price in my mind. What about you? Tell me what you think down in the comments. Alright, I'm done. See ya.